Welcome back to Physics and STEM Talks, where we discuss the unfiltered reality of research. I'm your host, Vaibhav Sharma, and today we are joined by someone who built her career studying some of the most extreme objects in our universe, Dr. Aruberi. Dr. Aruberi is currently assistant professor at Indian Institute of Bangalore. She did her bachelor's from Guru Nanak Dev University, Amritsar. After doing the bachelor's, she did MPhil from the same university. Then she moved to IIT Ropar to pursue her research career, a PhD. She did PhD from IIT Ropar, and after doing the PhD, she has been awarded the Newton Fellowships. So it is one of the most prestigious fellowships that she has got. After getting this Newton Fellowship, she went to University of Southampton, UK, where she pursued her postdoctoral research. After doing the postdoc from the UK, she directly get the Inspire faculty position at IISER Mohali. So she was for 5 years DST Inspire faculty at IISER Mohali. Then she was awarded the Serb Research Scientist Fellowship, and then she continued to teach IISER Mohali students. And now, after a long journey, she has become an assistant professor at IIA Bangalore. Let's welcome Dr. Aruberi. First of all, thank you for accepting my invitation to join this podcast because you are the first guest as an assistant professor or professor because till now I had PhDs, postdocs, but no professors. So you are the first. So thank you so much for accepting this.
Thanks for inviting. It's my pleasure to be part of the good series. Thanks
Okay.
for the invitation.
आगे जाने से पहले आई वांट जस्ट टू नो कि आपका बैचलर्स गुरु नानक देव यूनिवर्सिटी से था आपने एमफिल किया इन जनरल लोग एमएससी करते हैं आपने एमफिल किया सो व्हाई डिड यू चूज एमफिल ओवर एमएससी
Actually, it's not. I chose MSc over MPhil. I did have honors in physics degree, so which means mine was 5 years degree plus BSc plus MSc honors. So it was
ओके
integrated 5 years course. And after that,
ओके
until I was applying for PhD positions, I enrolled myself not to stay idle and wait for some position to come up. I joined this MPhil position, which I think within 9 months got admission to a PhD position, and then I completed MPhil during my coursework. So only the project part was remaining. My examination parts were all over. So this is how I managed
ओके
to complete MPhil.
सो व्हाट इज द वन थिंग दैट inspired you to continue in the research career
Actually, I was determined right from the beginning. So I was a non-medical student, and after class 12th, as everyone does, they appear for engineering examinations and would like to become an engineer, being a non-medical student. And I also appeared for, but I got admission also to a very reputed engineering college in India. It was within me that I want to do something in physics and I want to pursue PhD in physics. This was right determined from my say class 11th or 12th. So I would say it didn't come after joining masters or doing MPhil that I want to do PhD. In fact, I was not even ready to move my subject from physics to chemistry or mathematics, say. So I was always there, like I have to do something in physics and I want to do something different from rest of the world. I don't know why that PhD had in my mind. It was like, I think maybe that kids zone or the mind where I'm a growing child. I would say I was just passionate about physics. Something to do with my family background also. In my family, most of youngsters are engineers now. So for me,
okay
that was also another, I would say, inherent thing that I want to do something different from rest of my family
okay
members. I would say in that case, I was the first one to pursue PhD in my family. And yeah, now we have one of my cousin, although he's elder to me, but he has also completed his PhD, but in engineering background, because as I mentioned, all my siblings, cousins, and everyone, they are engineers.
एक चीज अभी भी मुझे नहीं समझ में आई ओके सो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल ऐसा मैंने सुना है कि जब लोग आईटी से बीएस करते हैं या आइजल्स में जाते हैं या किसी रिसर्च इंस्टीट्यूट में जाते हैं उनको बैचलर्स में होता है कि नहीं हमको रिसर्च करनी है क्योंकि हम उनको एक्सपोजर अच्छा मिल जाता है, नो डाउट उनको एक्सपोजर अच्छा मिलता है। लेकिन आपका जो बैचलर्स है वो गुरु नानक देव यूनिवर्सिटी, सो इट इज अ लोकल यूनिवर्सिटी एंड बिफोर दैट इवन, सो इसमें अभी गुरु नानक देव यूनिवर्सिटी का कुछ भी पार्ट नहीं है। यू सेड कि यू वर डिटरमिन्ड टू डू द पीएचडी, so is it because कि लोगों से अलग करना था, that's why you wanted to do the PhD, or you had some love towards your interest
Yeah,
towards the
yeah.
physics, that is why?
Yeah, so I'm talking about time, say 15, 16 years back in time. That time ISIS were not even set up, most of
Mhm.
those ISIS. So it was not very, I mean, universities are only main, I would say, institutions where you can pursue your higher studies, or they could be local colleges. So I didn't want to go to any local college because then I would not have got that research environment. But
Mhm.
thankfully, the university also played a good role in shaping me because I did my master's project under supervisor who was very much research oriented, and the
Mhm.
group associated group, his group was also giving me that. So right from masters, being a master student, I presented my work in international conferences like COFEST, etc. So in that way, I won't say that university because ISIS are set up like way back late in times. That time, ISIS was not also, and even IITs did not really have physics departments as such because they were also. I mean, they may be, but I was not aware. I would say that that would be better way to
Yeah.
say. But IITs may have physics departments, but that was not very known to general public. And as I belong to a small town also, so my parents were not well aware about other institutions than colleges or universities. Of course, they know IITs, but then again with the engineering as a background rather than
Yes.
for doing pure sciences. So for me, I think university did play a role, and especially my master supervisor, because then I at least got some flavor of how people do research and how this field actually works.
When I was going through your career, the research topic during your master was completely different from the one you pursued in the PhD, right? I think that was not astrophysics. That was not
It
astrophysics.
was plasma physics,
Yes.
not very much deviated from astrophysics, because
Okay.
of course I was working on a theory project then. So now if
Mhm.
you see my I'll come to that, how I moved to observational physics.
Okay, okay, sure, 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 sure.
But the thing is,
Continue.
I started with something related to astrophysics only. So the plasma physics project, which I was pursuing during my master's and also extended to MPhil, because I did my MPhil
Mhm.
also under the same supervisor, Professor Tarsim Singh Gill. And then this project was related to astrophysical fluids. And it was
Okay,
a
okay, okay.
project related to nonlinear theory. It was related to this.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I was doing some theory project then, and so that astrophysics was somewhere in the key, but of course I didn't know that I'll go into neutron star research or black hole research or say.
Or
So that
observational
part,
analysis.
observational, I'll come to that how I came to
Uh,
move to this observational. But yeah,
uh,
astrophysics was the major theme which I got into, but I was not really narrowed down to the research area where what I will be pursuing. But yeah, so here several things played a role. I
mhm.
don't know. There was so I got admission to PRL also during when I appeared for GATE exam for doing PhD. But as I told you that I belong to a small town, and that time my parents, especially my father, had a notion that we don't want to send a girl a bit far away from home. The reason being, we want to get her married. She has already done her masters, and now it's the time to get married, and blah blah blah. So these things happen in Indian culture. It happened with me also,
It
and
happened.
so when I said I've got a call from Ahmedabad, and they said Ahmedabad is too far away from our place, so I belong to Punjab, so and but now the thing is I wanted to pursue PhD, so I had to find an alternative which is within the state. And of course I did not want to do it in the university, although I could get it admission more easily there since I was
Mhm.
extending a lot of projects there. But since I wanted to do somewhere where I get a good recognition as well, and also the work quality and the work, as you mentioned, the research environment is more I mean, pronounced if you talk about institutions rather than the universities. It's a challenging if you are doing it in the university. So I found that IIT Roper was a newly set up IIT, and it is an IIT, so it has a good, at least name wise it will have a. So I actually applied there also. So I thought, I don't know, maybe with my score and everything I'll get there as well. So yes, luckily I got admission to IIT Roper. This is how I moved to IIT Roper, left PRL Ahmedabad because of these reasons. Although my destiny brought me back to Bangalore. I mean, I did my PhD at Raman Research Institute, Bangalore. So all my father's hope was all in vain. So yeah, so this also contributed to a lot, that how. So when I joined IIT Roper, there we had basically a professor who was working in nuclear astrophysics. So there was no astrophysics professor as such, while PRL did have. So now I had to make a compromise between doing PhD or not doing PhD. So I chose doing PhD, and that too in physics. And I chose a professor who was working in nuclear astrophysics. And that was
Okay.
also a theory project, I would say. And this is how I moved to a neutron star research, because the nuclear
Okay.
astrophysics
Okay. Okay.
project was related to the thermonuclear exoburst on the neutron stars.
Mm-hmm.
And that time I was doing some calculations, pure nuclear physics calculations for neutron stars. And somehow that supervisor actually left the institute. And meanwhile, what happened in between? I got selected for a workshop or a school, I would say, at HRIM Allahabad. So this was a school on neutron stars, but it involved all the community working in neutron star, or say, I would say in general, yeah, neutron stars only, if I remember correctly. This was a first time when I, during my first of 1.5 years, after 1.5 years of my PhD, I attended that school, and this was 1 month long school. There I got exposed, and now because I was already working on a neutron star problem and I know about thermonuclear exoburst, so I listened to talks about observational physics. That inclined my angle towards observational physics, because now I wanted to actually see the real data and see what these thermonuclear exobursts are. I'm doing some calculations to purely prove that how much energetics is released and how much energy balance and those sort of calculations, but I've never seen a like a true image or light curve, or what we call that intensity versus time profile. I've never seen that with a with my own eyes. So it was all like I have some published papers but never played with the data myself. This is how I managed to discuss it with Vishwajit Paul, who is my
Yeah.
PhD supervisor, actually,
So
thesis supervisor.
where did you met Viswajit? Because you were at the IIT Roper and
Yeah, so
Viswajit,
I'm
Professor
saying it was
Viswajit was.
HRA. It
Oh,
he
it
was
was HRA.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay. He
yeah.
was presenting there. Okay, okay,
Yeah. He was one of our lecturers also, and also
okay, okay, okay,
he gave a couple of talks also during the
okay, okay.
1 month long workshop. And in fact, I had a very long discussion and interaction session. I showed him my poster also, because I was presenting a poster during, and then we did chat about this thing. I expressed my interest then also, and by that time, my supervisor was also still there at IIT Roper. So it was not that I'll completely move to observational physics. So I just thought I'll do some project, and then I returned back to IIT Roper, and I talked to Bishwajit Paul and also my supervisor, put them in contact. I said, this is how I managed to talk to him, and I want to pursue a observational physics project now. And he kindly agreed. Both of them, actually, I would say. They said, okay, fine, you can do a project. But some mishaps happened in between, and the supervisor had to leave completely. The institute left the institute, and now I proposed IIT Roper that don't want to move to some other branch of physics. I want to do astrophysics, and I want to do neutron star research. So can you put Bishwajit Paul as my supervisor rather than any local supervisor at IIT Roper? And yeah, director and other committee members, they got involved.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how an MOU was signed between RRI and IIT Roper. So this was a special arrangement done because I was so passionate that I want to pursue this only, and because I was getting option in condensed metaphysics, quantum also, but I was not interested, to be honest. Already when I did some bit on neutron star research already, so that really motivated me to just go ahead with that. So yeah, I just tried to push administration, I would say, in that way. But yeah, it was a challenging task. It was not that easy, but yes, finally it was done.
Actually, very inspiring journey, very inspiring journey. So first of all, I would like to say, I am very happy to hear that the universities like Guru Nanak Dev University at Amritsar is providing so much good research environment to you so that you can convert your interest and to pursue your interest further beyond the masters. The second thing is I want to tell all the PhD students like Dr. Aru has discussed. Okay, whenever you are visiting a conference or workshop, don't think you are just going to attend lectures and
Yeah,
all. I would say you should focus on the professors. Where do you want to make a collaboration? And that thing should be done before attending the conference and workshop. It is
yeah,
not just to visit the city. It is
yeah,
not just to visit the conference. It is just to make the collaborations. So
yeah,
just think about Dr. Aruberi has built a collaboration at HRI Allahabad or HRI Prayagraj now. Now she is an assistant professor in the same field. So one collaboration in one conference or workshop can make your career very good in a very good direction. So
yeah.
I would say think on this.
Yeah, no, no, definitely. And I would really emphasize on that because generally students come to conferences, workshop, and I'm sure these days people are are more exposed to the culture, research culture than we were back in time I'm talking about. But yeah, it is always encouraging to meet people, discuss your research work, express your interest, and genuinely express. Don't just to it should not be a source of bread and butter, to be honest. If you want to do research, just be passionate and show your passion, that why I am talking to you. It should not be that I don't have any position right now, I'm looking for positions, because this also actually demotivates a supervisor to take you, because they think that you just want to come for a fellowship. I don't know whether you'll work or not, but show your sincere passion towards work. And I think just because I'm not boasting about it, but yes, within me only, that I was very much well determined that I have to do it in any way, irrespective of the fact that my supervisor left, or don't leave. I mean, whatever the situation arise. So that sort of determination should be there, and you should fight for it. And sometimes you have to fight with the system also, which I did. So yeah, you should be well prepared for both these things. I mean, it makes you mentally strong also, I would say. But yes, these are something students should basically do, that because right now I get a lot of applications, but sometimes I'm just not what you say, feel motivated to take a student just because I see, okay, they are not getting any position, they are writing to me. That should not be the case. It should be, why do you want to work here? Why do you want to work at IA? Why do you want to join me? Why do you want to do neutron research? And it should come up as like, okay, well, you have done some background study and you are well determined, that why do you want to join me? And why not others? So that should be the key.
I think this is very important. Whenever you are approaching a professor, your email should reflect your research, not your need.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so like just you mentioned कि जब आपने PhD ज्वाइन किया था या PhD स्टार्ट किया था उस टाइम पर रिसोर्सेज और अवेयरनेस इतना नहीं था जितना आजकल है एंड आई ऑल्सो एग्री विद दिस बट डू यू थिंक कि अभी जो PhD स्टूडेंट्स ज्वाइन कर रहे हैं सो देयर पर्पस इज समवट डिफरेंट देन दोज हु ज्वाइन अ डिकेड और 2 decades ago is there any difference?
Now, I won't say that it is very individual dependent. So we cannot really generalize the statement saying that, okay, we were more motivated back in time, but now kids are not, or students are not. It all depends upon individual to individual. Some are really, in fact, some students inspire us a lot. Okay, especially at ISER Mohali, I would say I've met several good students. In fact, I mean, they are of course blessed to be at ISER Mohali, like environment. Yeah, so where the science is basically everywhere in the institute. They're talking about, they're meeting different people, different distinguished speakers to visit the institute, give talks. So all that environment is there, environmental setup wise they are blessed. But within themselves also, they're very well determined, very well motivated. They don't require any external push, either from a supervisor or from somewhere else. I mean, I really admired those students, and also was inspired that, okay, this is, they are really passionate about doing research. So I won't really categorize it.
So, like I mentioned, you are very blessed and you have a very vast experience. In a sense, you have a research experience in a local university. You moved to IIT Roper, then you moved to out of India, University of Southampton, UK. Then you go to the ISER. Now you are a IIA. So I just wanted to know what are the main differences that these three, I would categorize these institute into three categories. I will put Aizer Mohali and IIA in one category in the prime institutes, like then you are coming from the Guru Nanak Dev University, you move to the Southampton. So how do you compare, first of all, these two universities, Guru Nanak Dev and prime universities of India, and then what is the difference between this Indian research culture versus the research culture in the UK at Southampton?
I mean, there are a lot of differences. Some are striking, and some, yeah. I mean, work culture is very different if we talk about Indian research institutes and outside research institutes. Of course, I would say in universities, as I mentioned, it just gave me a boost. So I did not do a real, I would say, extensive research projects. It was some part of the project which I completed partly during my PhD also. So at most of my work was done at Raman Research Institute, Bangalore, and being associated with Vishwajit Paul, and in fact at RRI, I really had good time, and in terms of both research, getting exposure, giving talks, national, international conferences, presenting my work. So in that way it helped me shaping my research career. So in fact I would say my first PhD thesis project, which turned up into MNRS paper, was
Mhm.
appreciated by MIT professor, and that time I was attending MIT Ayuka workshop, and he
Oh,
himself came to me and congratulated me for my paper, so which was kind of, I would say, appreciation from a referee. Generally referee won't come in front and say, and he congratulated on my paper saying, well, very good paper, and well done, keep it up, and blah blah. So getting that appreciation would not have happened without the support of my supervisor, without I would say, I mean, research environment in general, having good research colleagues, friends. So everything contributed to that. I would say the productivity of my thesis. Of course, once your first paper gets out with a good appreciation, you work harder and harder, and of course, as I told, most of the PhD students are passionate. I mean, otherwise they won't come to this field. There are other alternatives or ways out. So yeah, that really contributed, and this was the, I think my thesis was the base for me getting a Newton Fellowship, which was a surprise to me as well. Because I was not expecting. I mean, it's not you doubt your own caliber, but it's really a competitive one. So the success rate is less than 10%, even 8%, I would say, less than that. So I was not really expecting. In fact, these were my words to my host at Southampton. I submitted my application, and somehow during that year, there was some delay in results announcements. So
okay,
I was saying, I got a postdoc position at Ayuka then, and I said maybe
okay.
I'll join. I told my host I'll join Ayuka position and we'll try next year again. And results are yet not out, so you can see how pessimistic I was. That I was not at all hopeful that I'll get through. So he said no result is good result. So in that way also I said okay fine. It is a no result is good result, but anyways I'm not very hopeful. Maybe I don't know, it is quite competitive. We tried, and now we have a proposal, so we'll brush it up and put it next. But I don't know, somehow it worked out. And yeah, so it was. And here again I have several people who played a role in my life, inspiring and also getting international collaborations during my PhD. And in that way again I'm thankful to my supervisor, because Vishwajit always encouraged us to have build your own independent research career as well, right from your PhD. He was never a boss who will, micromanage your students. He will allow you to build your, and this is the reason actually I had a couple of projects independent of him. That actually played a role in getting me this prestigious fellowship, because it's an independent fellowship. So you have to demonstrate that you can work without your supervisor.
First of all, I would like to add here, see, you should build international collaboration, I think, when you are in the PhD. This is one of the most important requirement nowadays, at least, because I know what is the condition. And okay, so What do you think? Micromanagement of a supervisor. So you put a question like, I mean, in a discussion. So now you are you are a supervisor. You just joined as an assistant professor and you are guiding students for last 7 years. So this how this micromanagement things make happy the supervisors. I don't know how to frame this question to you.
It's a tricky one.
Yeah,
So
because
I don't know.
now you will see your colleagues would be doing this, and you cannot say anything to them. So I don't know what is the reason behind the micromanagement of a supervisor in your PhD or in your personal life, in your research journey. I personally feel it is very bad. So now you are a supervisor. I think you have a vast experience. You can share something on this.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's not productive, I would say, if you are micromanaging your group. Independent, of course, being a team, I won't say supervisor to be honest. I would say a team manager because you are building your team with having a postdocs, PhD, and master students. And being a team manager, you should monitor their progress. I mean, you all, of course, one thing you have to be careful of, especially with masters and PhD students, that the project which you have proposed is for their thesis or master or PhD. For postdoc, it's a very different thing. You are already an independent researcher by then.
Yeah.
So I expect that postdocs to be more independent, open to more collaborations, which build up their career in the long run, bring their own ideas, and then discuss on it. So that postdoc role is very different. But
Mm.
when we are talking about masters, you have to be a bit more careful. There, you might need some intervention in between because they can get diverted. And you can't expect that master student to basically pursue two different projects at the same time. They have done at ISM Holly. Of course, then the time management has to be done wisely because
Yes.
otherwise they won't be productive enough. And it's mostly a year-long project at ISIS, and in universities it's just less than 6 months project.
Yes.
So you have to be a bit careful. There you might need some interventions, and they are actually growing students, or rather, I would say, growing research students. So you need to
Yes.
monitor them. So there are two different ways to tackle different age groups. And when you're talking to a PhD student, and the first thing is, like, of course, they have to finish their basic things, basic coursework, or as the standard norms in India it is. But again, their first project has to be a bit monitored so that they are doing significant progress because that builds up their career. And supervisor has a huge responsibility for their career. I mean, in that way, because when it comes to PhD thesis, it's not only about a student's responsibility, it becomes a supervisor responsibility also to some extent, and the entire rest of their careers is based on the PhD. So during the initial phases, you might have to monitor that what is the progress, whether they are being able to understand things properly. So I won't say micromanagement there, but I would say you have to monitor them regularly, regular meetings, regular discussions, how the progress of the project is coming, because they have to clear several steps and hurdles in between compre and giving this promotional seminars and things like that. So there are many other challenges, but by mid of the journey, I think by the second year, they generally become independent enough. At least I believe that if you're a passionate and a dedicated student, you will become very much independent by the middle of your PhD. And that time you should leave them, make them open to talk to other people, try to build their
Yeah.
own connections. And of course, they don't have to divert completely from the PhD thesis again because you have to keep them on track so that at least the basic requirement is getting their PhD thesis. So this has to be done. So once it is done, of course, but that ladder which they have to climb can get started right from the middle of their PhDs or something like that. So, in that way, I would say there are different stages and ways of supervising. Of course, not always saying with whom are you collaborating. Sometimes you don't even need to know that information. It's all fine. They are already becoming independent, so it's good if they are building their own. Of course, they should do the work which they supervisor has done. Don't divert from that and completely start working because then how are you going to complete your PhD thesis? So you have to be a bit mindful in that aspect also, that they don't get completely diverted, because again, as I told you, it's a individual person, individual to individual, it varies also. Some students are very serious, and some students get distracted by different
Yes.
projects.
Yes.
So that
Correct.
thing also becomes important when you're supervising you, because not all students are same, and
Mhm.
they have different pace also. So there are various factors which plays into. We can't strict rules say per se that I have supervised one student like this and the second student will be, one to one supervised like that, because his pace, his way of taking up things might be very different from the previous one. So you might have to change your tactics. But of course, if as the moment you start believing that okay, they're becoming more independent, more responsible for their PhD thesis, then you can actually give them the freedom,
Mhm.
because this is how they'll build up. Otherwise, they'll always be under your protection and shelter.
I think I completely agree, 100% agree with you in this regard. But what do you think of if some student has joined a professor? Because before joining a supervisor or professor, you don't know what is the personal thoughts of the professors towards
Yeah.
the PhDs, because that might be possible, right? You want to build your own collaborations, but your supervisors are not open enough to let you do that. I have seen a lot of people who have struggled in their fourth and fifth year, even in the sixth year of the PhD at my institute. So what do you suggest? Because I know I feel somewhere at the second year or at the mid of third year, you would know whether you are compatible with your supervisor or not. But still, if you are going stick to that supervisor, is it good or is it bad? I don't know, because I have seen many people who have suffered from this. Actually, many people. I have at least 5 to 6 examples. I have seniors who were in 6 years, 7 years. One person came to me and she was in sixth year and she said, "Is your supervisor open to take a PhD?" She asked me that, and I asked, "You are in the sixth year. Why are you asking this?" Then she told me the whole story of that. Then I was like, "No, this is very big issue
It's a
nowadays."
sad.
It's very sad actually. It was very
Yeah.
sad for me.
Yeah.
Right now, she has completed the PhD, submitted PhD under the same supervisor only. But at the sixth year, you were so frustrated. Even this is the first, I would say this is the first ladder of your research career. And if you will get some this kind of experience in the PhD, then maybe we lose very bright minds in the research and they'll move on to some different industry. So what do you suggest? What should a person do when he or she thinks कि now I'm not compatible with him?
It's a tricky question again, because there is no strict answer or a straightforward answer also to this question. I mean, generally, I would encourage that. I don't know about universities whether that allow that, but at least in research institutes and also IITs and ISAs, they do allow students to do a rotating project, and then you can do a short-term project, say for 3 months, 6 months max. Start somewhere towards the second semester of your coursework, and then continue, say for 3, 4 months and 6 months, or depending upon how it goes. That rotating projects basically give you some flavor or some idea about your compatibility with your supervisor. So
Okay.
it gives you at least the working condition. I would say basically you get to know that how your supervisor expects you to work, whether you're compatible with that supervisor, whether you like it or not. So that sort of things really gives you some shaping of your idea and thoughts about joining a supervisor. I generally encourage, because now after joining IAA, I'm also getting students, but I always ask them, let's do first 3 months project and see whether we are compatible. Because 5 years journey is a long journey. You are taking responsibility of a student,
Yes.
building their career, and God forbids if something, you are not compatible in the find out this in the middle of your journey. It's a difficult. I mean, it's difficult to tackle that situation, I would say, both for the student and the supervisor as well. It's not only about student, because even the supervisor is at a lot of pressure at that stage what to do. And in that way, having short-term projects really help you, because then you get some idea about whether you would be wanting to work with this for the rest of your, I mean, at least for 4 or 5 years of your life. So that part may help you in the beginning or taking your decision wisely, I would say.
I think this is also make you comfortable with your topic that you are going to do your
Yeah, yeah,
PhD in that
many,
topic.
yeah,
This is
yeah,
both ways. This is both ways, I
exactly,
think.
exactly. Many
Actually,
things
this is a
will,
good idea. Yes.
yeah, I think many things come out of this, because you find out the compatibility with your supervisor. You also get to know whether you like the work which you intentionally. or whatever in your proposal you mentioned, or while approaching a supervisor you mentioned, whether now actually you're liking the project or not,
Yeah.
or you feel that you would want to do that person for 4 or 5 years or not, at least, if not after
Okay, so अभी थोड़ा ये set reality of the PhDs की बात start हुई है. Then I think I should also ask from you. Every PhD has a some failure story, some, I mean, they have some set in their mind because every PhD have this type kind of a story. So what is your failure story?
I told already, actually. I lost my supervisor in mid right in the beginning. That was really a shock for me. And I was in the middle. I told you I fought the system. So, I mean,
Uh,
getting a supervisor from a different institute, and also when there is no MOU signed between that institute, and supervisor is new to institute as well as to me. So getting all those things done was a challenging task. It took me at least 6 months to settle down in. Of course, I was continuing my work, independently, with some intermittent guidance, but that was a bit of a, I would say, challenging phase of my life, because I had to convince everyone around, and there are meetings every day where I have to convince the panel that okay, I need to work only in astrophysics. I can't do anything else in my life now. So yeah, that was itself a failure. Failure come with success, I would say. Eventually, I succeed to get what I wanted, but yeah, it was sort of a.
for me, it is very, I mean, disappointing to see people after doing the PhD or postdoc, they are not getting jobs. So, but I have seen earlier. So whenever I talk with the people who are more elder than me, they say like, कि, लेकिन पहले इतनी दिक्कतें नहीं होती थी. तो so do you also think are we producing more PhDs than the vacancies we have?
It's true. It's an everyday topic these days for us, even when we are having tea and coffee. Yes, it's becoming challenging. In fact, I myself have to struggle a lot for getting a securing a position. It's not a joke. Because the thing is, it's when you reach that stage, I would say everyone is competitive enough, but the number of vacancies are only one or max two. uh, I know that I've seen situations where 600 applications against one position. 600 means our senior, juniors, own, colleagues, batchmates, everyone is applying for that one position. And you can now see one for 600 applicants, how it's competitive, extremely competitive, I would say, these days. And everyone is equally good. So the first filtering itself shut down a lot of applications. I would say after first round of this evaluation, the selection committee evaluation, only 100 max applications are left. I think that is also the maximum limit. I'm saying it could be 40, 50, or say maximum 100 applications are left, and which
Okay.
for which they basically invite for this giving a faculty talk, and this is first round of screening. And after that faculty talk itself, they cut it down to 10, 15 maximum applications. So you see that after from 600, you are getting down to 14 or 10, 15. And then again, one applicant will be selected. So it's highly competitive in that case. You have to be.
Yeah.
So academia in general is very demanding. It's not like unlike other professions where you pursue a degree and get specialized training in one field and start working in that area. But here we have to build up our career in various spheres, not only saying publishing. Then the question arises
See,
whether you have whether you what you say independent experience, because sometimes postdoctoral experience may not be completely independent research experience, right? Getting grant writing, observing proposals if you are observational physicist. So all those various factors count when you come to a faculty position, because they are judging you for a position where you will be expected to do all these things.
okay, so like we were talking about the number of PhDs that we are producing, these are more. So ultimately, it means not all the PhDs are going to get the job in academia. This is very true.
Yeah.
So we cannot just focus only on the research. We have to build some skills. So, what are the skills do you think we should focus on along with the research? Because ultimately, at the when you will be at fourth year, in the fourth year or fifth year, you will realize ki, do you want to continue in the research or not?
Yeah.
Most people quit at the second year, but
Yeah.
Many people realize at the fifth year or fourth year, like they do not want to continue the
Yeah.
research or they don't want have that much of time. I mean, this is very time demanding as well.
Yeah. So conventionally, people used to think in academia you are successful only if you secure a professor.
Hmm.
That was the mindset
Correct.
in olden days, era of our supervisors. If you leave
Yes.
academia, people used to consider, oh, he or she was not successful, then that's why I had to leave academia. But now that mindset has to be changed. And in fact, our
Yes.
students are to be trained in such that they would fit for academia as well as company or other domain. Because
Yes.
as you already can see that the number of vacancies are openings in academia are few. But now if we have more number of students, is good thing because we want, I would say, during your PhD time, you get a training in such a way that more independent
Yes. Correct.
compared to a BTech degree or I'm not complaining about it, but I'm just saying you get lot rigor training during your PhD and become more mature beings then uh, just imagine yourself back in time, say just freshly undergrad student or so how much grown up you are now at this stage. So it really helps you in building up that
Yes.
thought eventually when you walk through this. So the training part when it comes to technical now at least in the Western we do have a lot of done in data science also because as you can see machine learning and data science so when you talk about astronomy I know universities especially in the UK since I spend a lot of time in the UK have degrees with NU data or something so because one of my students from ISA Mohali has joined that project so during his PhD where he is actually pursuing a real-time astronomy project real
Hmm.
astronomy project agents and galaxies he has to spend 1 year in
Okay.
for getting that training on data and how acquiring those skills which are good fit for a company, not in academia maybe. But of course, that will open up the avenues for him for the later
Yes.
age. So that sort of things are already in discussion, and people have already proceeded in that direction, even in India. Last year, not last year, in when ASI meeting happened in Bangalore, I remember there was a dedicated session on enterprise,
Yes.
and
Yes.
Professor Ajit Kambhavi was one of the panelist
Yes.
member, and he also emphasized that the training should be done in such what you say within the industry and academia should be encouraged during the PhDs.
Yes.
That would really help a student to get exposure to the industry culture and also academic culture they are, built up right during their PhD, not struggling after doing their PhD that what next. Because even postdoc positions are at crunch right now. As you can see, the US positions are no longer
Yes.
and European funds are always limited and very much sometimes restricted to you.
Yes.
And in that way, you have to find an alternative, and you don't want your students to just struggle to find a position. So you have to train them in such a way and make them open in the that if they are building up tools and techniques which are required for the industry, be open to accept that as well. They ultimately they have to earn their livelihood.
Yes.
Yeah, it should
I
be.
think
I mean that mindset has to change. That academia is a success and the industry is a failure. But PhD for PhD should be just a framework for them to
yes.
fit in.
Yes, I also think it's a high time to make the collaboration between the industry and the universities or IITs
Yeah,
to build or to promote research across research. Yeah, because
yeah,
I don't know whether now this trend has also initiated, but I don't know whether this exists in other universities or not. That Kemhovi is one of the leading guy who is doing this.
yeah,
So I'm very
yeah,
happy. Like some of the professors are still thinking after getting retired, they are still thinking about this.
yeah. And I would say much needed thought requiring.
Yes.
And I know, I mean, currently professors at IUCA also have students who have moved to academia, and that training was imparted to them right in the PhD.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it's
To industry, move to industry.
yeah, yeah, they have moved to India. And I mean, so one thing we should always keep in mind as well that industry, when it comes to industry, it is not always that you have, 9 to 5 sort of job or repetitive work, because there are dedicated R&D departments
R&D.
also in the industry where you can fit. Like for example, TCS is one of those companies where the R&D department is well set. You can look for opportunities there and see how your skill set matches with the skill sets required in that domain. And this is one way you can actually look into moving into academia, into industry. And
Okay.
of course, looking at their requirements, you can brush up and see if you can acquire those skills during your PhD if you are in the middle of your PhD.
We discussed we should also train in a way like we can move to postdoc or we can move to industry. But suppose if a guy who wants to stay or stick to academia, so and he or she is doing a PhD, then what is the correct time to apply for a postdoc or fellowship? And
Ah,
how
yeah.
important this timing is?
Timing is everything. So, because most of the postdoc positions generally are twice a year, so either they're in around October and then so
Mhm.
it depends upon when you are finishing your PhD. But ideally, I would say you should start at least, if not applying, but start preparing your initial proposal.
Okay.
Say, I think there was some hiccup for you that so no, this is ideally I'm saying, but it
Okay.
may not happen always, but at
Mhm.
least 6 months before,
Mhm.
at least at the time of starting to write your thesis, start preparing your, because it will require a lot of iterations, your research. And if you're really passionate to be in academia only, again, you have to, as I already told you, the ratio that faculty to applicant ratio is unbalanced. So it
Yeah.
means you have to be competitive enough. And yes, you want to also apply for, say, independent fellowships, because that really helps in getting into, and that really helped in my being an independent fellow. I built up my, not working with somebody's project, but working on my own. So in that way, yeah, giving time to your research projects, research
And
proposals.
okay, so just now we are talking about the postdocs and the fellowships. So you were awarded this Newton Fellowship. So when did you start applying? How did you approach the professor? Because I think to apply for the for the fellowship,
Yeah,
you should have a
yeah,
host. So this is also very critical part before applying the fellowship, right? So how did
yeah.
you all manage all these things?
I don't. So basically, it's a good. I don't remember the timeline actually, to be honest. But it may have happened like 8, 9 months before, because I knew my host a year before I applied or something, because
Mhm.
I was in touch maybe during Costa capacity building workshop which I attended. I don't remember exactly how I managed to, but I met him in IUCO
Okay.
during some of the works. So I knew that host and I expressed interest also doing a postdoc. And
Hmm.
I think we were in informal talks during conference dinner, and so I knew my host and the group.
Okay.
I would say a year before I actually, and about to start writing my. I was now looking into postdoc positions,
Okay.
and I approached him actually, asking him if he has any postdoc. So that time he said, no, we don't have a postdoc funding, but you can apply for some fellowships in the UK. And this is how I actually started, ended up submitting my.
So suppose if I want to apply for a Newton Fellowship, so how will you guide me to do this?
Uh, so the first thing, to a host institute and a co-applicant, because he will be applying with you for a, and see whether he likes research ideas. Yeah, I mean, this is the first step you would take in that lead to apply for Newton. And then afterwards, you can base, once you both agree, come to common conclusion. Okay, we will write a proposal on this particular topic, and then perhaps you can start drafting your proposal and see the deadline also. Then, once you have a rough draft, I think at my time it was like you get an internal selection done first. So there are two
Okay.
steps. So one is the
Okay.
institution. So you will put up your application, which will be approved by in department itself, the host institute. And then once you succeed in that step, second step would be to put up your applications through the institute or the university to the new Royal Society. So that would be the final from
Okay.
the expert committee. Yeah, be prepared those two screening levels. And you would, I don't know what is the trend right now, but at least at my time, it required six reference letters.
No, I don't think so. This is required
Yeah,
right now. I don't think so. Okay. I think it is
yeah.
three, I think. Yes.
No, no, it is six if you
For
see the
Newton
Newton,
Fellow?
yeah, for the Newton Fellowship. Because
Okay.
we,
How on a guy without collaborations will arrange six?
so it's a tough thing for a PhD. Yeah, as I mentioned, I was doing some independent. So yeah, so that is, I think a couple of professors with whom I did directly, but they knew my work because I was working with someone else. So this is how I got a reference.
So, actually, I have a question, like, I have a doubt. Whenever you are approaching a professor to apply for a fellowship, so did you make your research proposal on your own? How do
Yeah,
you, matlab,
yeah.
the critical part is to make a research proposal. So because if you want to email a professor, so with that email you will attach your proposal idea or research idea. So how do you find those research ideas when you are doing your PhD? Because you are busy writing your paper, busy reviewer comments, and then you are again asking like you should write a research proposal,
See,
independent research that has not been done.
so I would say this is what you are getting training for in a PhD to build up your.
Oh.
So yeah, this is partly training process which we are going through. So yes, I remember my PhD supervisor did not know at all what proposal I'm submitting. He only got to know when
Okay.
I already submitted. I submitted my material to him, asking, requesting him that please send a recommendation letter. So it is part of the training, and yeah, that's why I say that independence which I gained during my PhD really helped me because I built up my ideas. I mean, you don't have to be. See, your ideas cannot always be constructive, and they cannot always be, but you learn from those things only. Like you can talk to your seniors, maybe postdocs or fellow, I mean, who are working in that field, and see what you think about the research project, and perhaps tentative ideas turn into a real good projects. And
Okay.
then you gain the confidence to build up your ideas. And I think this is
Mhm.
how I learned. I mean, I was not getting supervision from, to be honest, no supervision for writing a research proposal from anyone. It was entirely my hard work. Of course, it required iterations, which was collaborative work between myself and my host. But apart from that, I did not have any supervisor as called supervisor who will look at or read my research proposal and give. So it was between. I wrote the first draft. I circulated it. I mean, rather for his thoughts. He provided his thoughts in the form of comments, and then I worked on it and revised my proposal. So that's why I said I was not confident that I'll get it because I thought I don't know whether I build up I mean a good proposal or not. Some experience from your co-applicant or your supervisor or your mentor or your collaborator will help you because they have much more experience at that stage compared to you. That would help in building the proposal, but it has to come from you.
सपोज अभी मैं आपको बोलूँ कि you have to guide a student step by step. What are the steps to build a research proposal? What are the main steps?
There, I mean, the steps wise, I would not say that there is a clear. First thing is, research proposal will only be built up if you are doing good research work. It means that if you are thorough, if you understand your own research well, then only you will be able to build up on those ideas. So this is the key. And then, of course, the proposal writing is a different task altogether, which means
Mhm,
putting your ideas together. So, first thing is to get those ideas what research proposal be would be based on,
mhm,
and then now it becomes how to put your ideas together in a framework so that
mhm.
it gets success rate becomes higher. That is a research proposal or research writing skill. That is a different task which
Okay.
I mean, which generally comes with experience only, I would say, because
Yeah,
it's
that is.
that now if I say, if I go back to my Newton Fellowship proposal, now I see I could have done better in that research proposal. So with
That will help.
experience, yeah, with experience, you will be in writing a better and better proposal. But the initial framework is only coming from your own research, which you either with your supervisor or so. Those are the preliminary things and how thorough you are.
I think we should move on from fellowships, postdocs to some very hot topic. So nowadays, AI and ML is very like hot topic, not in only industry, it is even in academia because everyone wants to apply since at least in astronomy because we have a large data set. So we want to apply AML. So we do so people don't want five PhD students, but they want one PhD student who knows AIML. So irrespective of the astronomy or astrophysics, I want to discuss the role of AIML in the academia with you because I think like before, I think a decade before the role Python was playing in the industry and in the research. Nowadays, it is AI/ML thing which is making that difference between the people. So, what do you think? What are the major impacts of the AI/ML thing on the in the research field?
If I understood correctly, you want to know that the repercussions of having AI tools in the research.
Yes, yes.
That's a very good question, actually. Right now, we are also facing that challenges when it comes to students. Because, see, now AI can reproduce everything and everything.
Yes.
So, generally, when it comes to even doing the real research, they take a okay. The fun, or rather, the important thing one should learn is it should not be treated as your alternative for doing research. It should be treated as an additional tool to help you in
Hmm.
learnings. But I felt, and in fact, many of our colleagues also, right now students are using that as an alternative, like it's a replacement for them to do a research work. So it should not be taken as a, I mean, it should not replace you, rather than use it only as a tool for getting some help if you're stuck in. Don't depend completely on AI tools, I would say, because you don't to just give your query to AI chat GPT, say, and then get the result. Rather, because for example, I can give you a very clear example. And recently, this I heard from his own student. So he's a new to so no but what he did was I asked him to go through some observation analysis threads, and instead of going through them, he asked questions to chat gpt and started asking what to do next and what to do next and blah blah blah. This is when I asked him, like, why did you do this after? He actually honestly said, and very, he said, I used ChatGPT. I said, why did you use ChatGPT? Because these are very clearly mentioned on the, NASA websites or HISA web page. So why did you go to ChatGPT? And very clearly, if you follow those links step by step, you will get to know the answer, or you can do the analysis yourself. So this should you should use it only when, or rather, I would say, if you're really stuck and you don't know where to go and you want to use tool, but don't sit completely and boycott other research, alternatives or websites which are actually meant for doing real research and was aiding us until now, or maybe we still tend to use that
Yes.
rather than using AI tools. So this should not be.
Do you think AI/ML part or AI/ML thing will change the researcher's mind, or will it be productive? Will it be more efficient?
I think it's no, I think it's well proven
Yeah,
that
that is fine, please.
AI and ChatGPT tools basically are not
Hmm.
completely 100% correct. And yeah, so we can't rely on them totally. So and also when it comes to a
Hmm.
PhD training, the training itself says that you have to be thorough in your understanding. So that thoroughness, or rather readiness, or whatever you say, the preparation for doing a research will not come from ChatGPT or AI tools. It will again come from those conventional reading books and coming from those uh, websites or tools or techniques, and how do we train being a PhD
Okay.
student rather than relying on
Yes.
these tools, because then
Yes.
you are using it as a black box without any understanding what you are, why you're using it. While if you read the, say, analysis threads, or if you walk through ebooks or books, or read review papers or articles, you will get a more thorough background understanding of why you're doing the particular, and
Okay.
this really really helps you in even writing your research proposal, say.
Yes.
because then you are now more thoughtful in what you are writing rather than blindly using ChatGPT and asking it to write a research proposal for you, because it will frame a research proposal, definitely it will prepare, but you don't know what exactly, or you won't be able to understand where it is incorrect. Or and an experienced reviewer, or I would say your expert panel member, will get to know the way it will be written. So they can easily pick up, or it's not easily, but at least they will get some clue that it's not a purely written by a student or a researcher. It's taken from ChatGPT. So I don't think students should use it blindly.
Was also mentoring a project to a master's student. So I asked him to present the summary or to write a summary of this paper. I gave him 1 week. That was enough to read that paper. But what he did, he just gave that paper to
Mhm.
the ChatGPT and said, ki, summarize it. He said, he summarized it, not the explain even. Summarize it, and then he's directly sent me the copy
Explain.
and paste version that we could know easily that this is a ChatGPT version.
And actually, for the coding purpose
Yes.
also, so now it is but obvious that students will use ChatGPT for their work. And there is no halt to it. You can't really complete 100% stop to it.
Mhm.
So I was at University of Southampton, and I was also demonstrating the coding class there. And there we actually asked students if they are
What the code
using
is doing.
any such tools that is acceptable, as long as you can explain what that segment, and you have to clearly acknowledge the use of ChatGPT and AI. You have to be, at least this much honesty you have to show. And if you are able to explain why what exactly that part of your code does.
I don't know how people will use it in the next decade or in the next 5 years, but definitely I know one thing, the people who will read the review, the books, the literature survey, the PDFs, when they'll talk about or when they'll discuss their ideas, their research, you will get to know that they are the one who have clear thoughts of their research rather than who are using AI/ML just to get the flavor of the research. If you want to have a flavor of some research, then you can use it. But if you want to go thorough
Mm,
your PhD, I
yeah,
mean, when you are reading a paper which is directly
yeah,
related to your research or PhD, the research thesis, PhD thesis, then I think everyone should read the complete paper. Then only you can understand the complete idea of the research. I think this is a good point
yeah,
raised by you. The
yeah,
people should read. I
yeah,
have
exactly.
come across a lot of professor who just say कि हमने 30 साल पढ़ा है तुम चैट जीपीटी से पढ़ा के तुम प्रोफेसर बन जाओगे ऐसे yes this is true. I heard from one of the professor whenever email come to me and I see collaboration word in my the subject or title, I'll just delete it. So then what do you think? So if a student want to approach you to for a research proposal to do some project, to do some internship. So what type of email or what type of research email should he write or should she write so that you will accept, considering you have funding?
Yeah, I mean, except I won't still say that I do accept applications right just by getting an email in my inbox. Because see, these days students are well aware of even drafting an email, and again, ChatGPT helps them. So to some extent, so they can easily get to know what research interest and what supervisor works are. Because I have seen applications where student has very thoroughly framed an email saying what is my work and why they are interested in my work, and so that itself can be one screening. Okay, at least he had gone through my website, papers, at least to get some idea. So some hard work has gone into it, even if it's with drafting, maybe with chat, but at least he has taken the pay to go through what I work. So that is something, a preliminary screening, which I would say would entertain or the application at least. I just look at it into the CV and see how. And then the second part is actually have informal communication or formal communication, depends. You can have a telephonic call. I generally prefer Zoom call to get an idea why actually, because now when you're talking to a person, you
Yes.
will get better idea about whether that email is written by him or it is something which is just come. it's ChatGPT product. Yeah, so you can get some idea while talking also. And third thing which I always ask is a recommendation letter. Although it could be challenging, and for master students, generally these days master students, if they are approaching for internship, so they do have some prior research experience. They manage to get it, or they can get it from their department supervisor also, department teacher, where the course teacher, or course instructors. So that gives you now more promising idea that whether that student will be able to progress in the research. Because I mean, training a master or undergrad student is very challenging. Unlike a PhD student, and a PhD student has a longer period also. Uh, I mean, compared to a master thesis where you have 1 year and you want a productive thesis also, and a thesis for which they will be applying for PhD positions and things like that. So in that way also you have to be a bit more serious about taking master students. And I think this email generally yes, because if it's a one-liner, if I'm interested to work in this, then there's no point, because it's just like okay, they're approaching everyone. They just want one target, one person to accept them, but that should not be the case. But if they have showed keen interest and they have basically put up some efforts in understanding what you do and how it connects with their, if they have any previous experience, or if not, then by.
So now you have a vast experience. You have enough experience to write an email for a collaboration. You have made a multiple collaborations. So your email, what should it look like? Like step by step from where a bachelor student should start, then what to involve in the body, then how to conclude it. So what are these chunks that students should include in their email while approaching a professor for collaborations?
Generally, I would say, yeah, it's a good question. Although there's no strict template to that, of course, a rough idea I can give you about drafting an email would be like start first introducing yourself, from where are you, which sometimes students actually miss in the email, because if you're getting multiple emails of supervisors, generally get multiple emails from different parts of the world, and then that email does not know from who is actually writing you, they will not get interested to look at your CV. So you introduce yourself first, so that I'm so and so working in this, and yeah, so which year of your master's or undergrad or whatever level you are at, or give a brief intro. Definitely, that is the key to get started with. And then you can have a second paragraph saying if you have any prior research experience, say you have pursued a project, even if it's a short-term project, say 2-3 months. Now, this is very important. If you have pursued a project, you should be able to explain it. What was your results, or rather, what was your motivation of that project? What was the outcome of that project? That gives you some flavor, that you have at least the understanding of what you have already done. This gives a confidence that okay, you are what you say, I won't say, I don't know if it's serious, but I would say a dedicated researcher. At least whatever you have learned thoroughly. And then the third paragraph of your email should be that why are you approaching now me or someone you are interested in. That should now be reflecting in your later half of your email. And this is ideally would be sufficient at a level of just applying to emails. And then, of course, don't forget to attach your CV. This is another thing which sometimes students do forget.
If you are a bachelor student or a master student approaching a professor, so your email should include, first of all, you should introduce yourself in very briefly in one paragraph. Then you should talk about the prior research experience that you have developed a project or you have done a project under his or her guidance. Then you should tell how your research interest is matching with the professor that you are approaching. Then again, kind note, then you can attach your CV. So don't forget to attach your CV when you are sending a collaboration opportunity. So if a person or if a student of bachelor come to you and ask you, should I do a PhD? What do you say?
It's a good question. See, first thing, it should be self-motivated one. And I would give a practical, I mean, advance on the say that it should not come like because this PhD is the greatest degree in the world and last degree in the world. That's why I want to do PhD. It should not be like that. Um,
Mhm.
and I will basically reflect on both, ups and downs. Ups, of course, if you're successful, you should be proud of yourself, and it builds up you both. I would say skill wise and also mental. I would say it gives you legal training in that way. So of course, it's much ahead of any other degree you pursue in this world. So in that way, it's of course, and if you're very passionate about research, of course, this is the thing you should do. It's meant for you. But also the downside, as we already discussed during the session, it is like it's not always you will get into academia. You should be prepared that you might have to switch again to non-academic positions, which could be going into industry. Now you weigh properly that whether you want to spend 10 years of your life because it's a long journey. It's not a 2 or 3 years journey where you will be ending up in a very goody situation. It may happen that, and also many undergrad students are still under that impression that it's like any regular degree where you will have a syllabus and you will come up with that set of questions and you'll pass. It is not like that. And also don't expect your supervisor to give you spoon feeding. And if you, in my opinion, if your supervisor is spoon feeding you, it's actually not preparing you well for your independence or independent training you as an independent researcher. So that itself
Yeah.
will impact on your growth in apart from just getting a PhD degree. So all those pros and cons are to be explained to a student, and then it's his or her decision whether they want to pursue it or not. Don't just they should not be only under the false impression that it's just the most prestigious degree in the world, but if you are actually well prepared to pursue it, then do it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ebri, for joining me, or joining us for this a very fruitful discussion. So thanks again. I hope everyone would love to watch again and again, and they'll share with those who are considering research as a career in the next 2 to 3 years or in 1 year. So I think you will find it very helpful for them, for yourself. So please keep sharing it, like it, subscribe it. Thank you. See you all in the next episode.